Hello and welcome to EV Review Ireland. My name is Derek Reilly. Today we are looking at the Renault Twizy. I've never had a car that's gotten such a big reaction when I've been driving it during the weekend. 2 weeks ago I had the Mercedes-Benz EQS. So let's get stuck into the details. If you're interested in all things EV and you want to support the channel, hit the subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss any future updates. Originally we would have seen the Renault Twizy concept back in 2009 and they started producing them in 2012, so 10 years old this year, but bad news is you cannot buy them new anymore. They're going to be only second hand. And I've never had such a reaction to an electric vehicle. Let's run through some of the details. Start at the front. You have your fairly prominent license plate. You have halogen bulbs. Hasn't really changed since 2012, really. There has been a copy in China, not a forgery, but an imitation, very similar, slightly different doors, manufactured by a company called Reilly. You get your indicators, you've got your single wiper. At the front here is your flap for your washing liquid and also your 3-meter spiral 3-pin plug to charge it. It doesn't work off AC, definitely doesn't work off DC anyway, so it's all off a 3-pin domestic socket. 13-inch tyres. Moving down along the side, then you've got those mud guards. The windscreen itself is heated, which is about the only thing that you can get heated as standard on it. You've got some clear plastic panels along the side, your wing mirrors, which are adjustable manually by literally poking them with your finger. To get in, there's no lock on it. It is gull-wing doors either side, and the bottom half of that door is clear plastic as well. The doors were an optional extra. You could buy this without the doors. It's a 2-seater, and some people don't realize it is a 2-seater. When I'm driving along, and because there's no windows, as you can also see, you could have bought an optional kind of a zip-up polyurethane see-through, but this one doesn't have it, so if it's raining, you have to wear your wet gear. But I don't mind that, actually. You could hear people as I was driving by or at traffic lights, you can hear people saying, oh, look at that 1-seater, but it's actually a 2-seater. You just have to slide the seat forward. On the side then, or on the roof, you could have had an option for a clear sunroof, but this one doesn't have it. It has kind of a vinyl on it that has carbon fiber effect. Some nice two-tone colors going on with this kind of a cockpit identifier, gloss black. Very good for branding, I'd say, etc. But let's turn it around and have a look at the rear of the Twizy. Twizy, the name comes from twin easy. Twin because of the two people again. And let's talk about some of the battery and spec like that. But I've really enjoyed my time with this car. Quadricycle is actually what it is known as, and depending on which motor you go for, it could be a light or a heavy. Some of the markets it was sold in, it was a 45 or an 80, and that's depending on the size of the kilowatt motor, horsepower, and the 45 and the 80 dictated as to that was the top speed in kilometers per hour. This is the 80 version. I think this was the only version that you could get in Ireland. I think in Ireland they kind of spec'd it, so it was always with the doors, not necessarily always with the side windows. But let's turn it around anyway. Starting at the top of the Twizy at the rear, gloss black, you've got your high-level brake light, really your only brake light, with your reversing light, large Renault badge. It's the older one, and then you've got your indicators, your reflectors, your license plate, and you can really see the workings of the actual steering, suspension, etc. So it's rear wheel drive, rear mounted electric motor, some reflectors as well, as we talked about, but otherwise not much else going on the back here. Let's have a look on the inside. doors open both sides, and it's literally just, there's no way of locking them, so you can literally just pop the two of them open. On the right hand side is, up the top you've got 2 storage areas, and the right hand one is lockable, and that's the key. It's not a flip out key, it literally, there's no central locking. That's what you're getting, and so you can lock that right hand one. I don't think it'd take much to pop it open, if I'm honest. It wouldn't be the most secure. There is a steering lock on it, you could see there, and so it's simple, like a lot of electric vehicles. Unlock the steering lock. You've got a digital cluster here. On the right hand side you have your electrically heated windscreen, you have your wipers, 2-stage, you have your washer fluid. On the left hand side you have your lights, indicators, you have a reversing beacon that you put on manually, or maybe if you're going through some slow moving traffic or pedestrianised traffic, and you have a fairly decent horn, and then you have your dips and your fulls, which your indicators with that to let you know that the indicators are on. Your hazards had that light as well, and then you've got a button here with drive, neutral, reverse, and you've got a manual handbrake lever underneath that there as well. Steering wheel does have an airbag in it, and you have an unusual kind of a setup with regards to seatbelt. You've got a 3-point seatbelt, and then you've got another belt that comes over your other shoulder. Not sure if that's for G-force or what exactly is that for. On the drive infotainment cluster itself, you've got whether the handbrake is engaged, you've got a stop, you've got a service light, you have a battery warning light as well. If you've left the front flap open, then on the left hand side you've got your lights, whether you have lights on or off, and then whether you've got high beams. You've got to engage it, you have to hold it down, and that will light up a go. And then drive is, the neutral light goes off, drive is engaged, or reverse is engaged, and then back to neutral. And then on the actual display itself you have this battery. It's showing 37 kilometer range on this. I've had it up to 52 kilometer range, and whether you're taking, it's like 2-stage out of the battery, 1-stage into the battery, so there is an element of regen. You don't get to control that. The actual so the range is there, the time, and then you press the little button on the left hand side. Overall it's had 116 kilometers worth of driving on this one, so it's a 2020. And then how your eco score, and then the time, and so the clock setting. So yeah, storage in, let me look at the rear seat behind here. So I'll move the camera around for that. So with to get somebody into the rear, slide the seat forward. Before I get into it, there's a little lockable, about 30 litres worth of space. You take out the top of the rear seat, and what you do is you straddle the seat. There's a separate 3-point seatbelt for the rear passenger, and this is the driver, and then that seat comes back, so your legs are either side. And I've had people in the rear of this that are 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", no problem. Everybody in the office wanted to go on the Twizy, as long as it wasn't raining. Just up here where the roll bar is, you've got some speakers, and there is an optional Bluetooth extra that you can get. There was an optional knee blanket warmers. We talked about the windows already. Yes, there was a couple of different options that the doors, as I said, were an option in some markets, but I really enjoyed my time with it, and anybody that I brought for a spin in it has really enjoyed it. And nobody realizes that there's somebody in the back of it as well, so you could be totally stealth and getting around the city. Let's take it out for a drive. Was it like driving the Renault Twizy? When you don't have the windows, it gets a bit loud. When you don't have the windows, it could get a bit wet. So I've had it a couple of times into the office this week, and I brought wet gear just in case, because it is Ireland. But really fun. I've never, as I said at the start, I've never had more people smile at me potentially at the Twizy. Really like the look of it. it's a real, if you're shy and you are an introvert, the Twizy is not the car to go for. So as I mentioned, it started production in 2012 in Spain, and then they moved it to Korea in 2018, but unfortunately they've stopped production now, and that's what you can no longer buy the Renault Twizy. Sold about 30,000 units globally. In Japan it was marketed as a Nissan New Mobility Concept, I think it was called. And when they moved the production to Korea, I thought that they were going to continue making it over there. And maybe they are underneath the Nissan side of things, but suspension is firm. It's a 6.1 kilowatt hour battery, and I get between 35 and 55 kilometer range. Top speed is 80 kilometers an hour, and I have hit that. Technically a quadricycle, so it can't go on the motorway, but it can go on national primary roads. It takes about 3.5 hours to charge it then as well, but you need that 3-pin plug, so you need somewhere to charge it. So off-street parking, at home, or in the office. It's a funny one because with an e-bike you can thread through traffic, e-scooter, even an electric motorbike. This one, you're caught in traffic for the majority of times. There are some times when you can squeeze through if a car turns right and you want to go left. I had a situation during the week where I was turning right and a motorcycle didn't see me. He wasn't expecting me. There was some verbal backing over, but I was on my side of the road. I was turning right. He just didn't think that I was going to be there. Our dog loves it. All the people in the office love it. In some markets you could get a 45 version and an 80 version. But in Ireland I only ever think we got the 80 version. There was also a situation where there were you had to be mindful of battery lease. So if you are buying these second hand, just make sure that it's not a lease, because towards the end they stopped. You didn't have to, you could buy it without the lease, you could buy it outright. Whereas for a while there, Renault and their ZE program, which stands for zero emission, you could only lease it because they want to give people reassurance. Now this is a 5-year warranty. Complete battery replacement if something goes wrong. So you had 2 electric motor versions, the 45, which gave you 5.4 horsepower, giving you a 4 kilowatt motor, and the 80 version, which was 17 horsepower and a 13 kilowatt motor. So who's it really for? Potentially promotional, scooting around the town, but you're not really beating much traffic. But I'll tell you, in our office, we're thinking about buying one after having it for just a week, because the ability to have it there to scoot around, as long as you've wet gear with you, the weather doesn't really make a difference, because inside, even though there's no windows, everything's waterproof, so you can hose it down, but it also means if it gets wet, there's no issue with it. There's no power steering, so you have to be conscious of that as well. Let me know in the comments if you would consider something like this, because this is no longer being made now. If you want something like this in this quadricycle, 10,000 euro kind of price point, and that's what it was retailing for, you're looking now at the Citroen Ami, which is fully enclosed, 2-seater, but it's a side-by-side, so it's more of a cube rather than lengthways. I've already had that in the channel. I'll put it up on the link on the screen and also in the description. The only issue I can see with that is it's left-hand drive only. They're not going to make a right-hand drive version of it, and so might throw some people off, might throw some insurance companies off, but I know Citroen Ireland are looking into that at the moment. Charging wise, it takes about 3.5 hours to charge that 6.1 kilowatt hour battery. Battery was the same across all versions, just the electric motor that was different. Size wise, it's 2.3 meters long by about 1.2 meters wide by about 1.5 meters high, so if the parking bay is wide enough, you'll definitely be able to park it perpendicular. So parking is good. Movability and how easy it is to drive around the town, that's questionable as well. What I haven't seen yet, and I don't think there's any in Ireland, if there are, let me know, or if you have one, let me know in the comments. There is a cargo version, and It just means that the rear seat was out and there was a bucket that was there, so you could get a cargo version of this as well, which would be ideal for scooting around the place. But anybody that I've carried this week and we needed to carry a bit of cargo just went on their lap. The fact that 2 seat belts is important as well. The opposite of the Renault Twizy is after passing me there, the BMW i4, also a beautiful car. Let me know in the comments if you would consider something like this. Because this is no longer being made now, if you want something like this in this quadricycle, €10,000 kind of price point, and that's what I was retailing for, you're looking now at the Citroen Ami, which is fully enclosed, 2-seater, but it's a side-by-side, so it's more of a cube rather than lengthways. I've already had that in the channel. I'll put it up on the link on the screen and also in the description. The only issue I can see with that is it's left-hand drive only. They're not going to make a right-hand drive version of it, and so might throw some people off, might throw some insurance companies off, but I know Citroen Ireland are looking into that at the moment. Hopefully you've enjoyed my review of the Renault Twizy. I've really enjoyed it, so much so we're thinking of buying it in the office. Make sure you've subscribed to the channel. We're on a drive to 10,000 subscribers by the end of 2022. And remember, if you think an EV is for you, even a Renault Twizy, leave it to me and I'll review. Thank you very much for watching.